Hi there, this is Ross Cecina, Woodfire Power. Thank you for tuning in. In this short video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Andrew Yang. My son and I, who's now 10 and homeschooled, we're going to travel to Iowa to canvass for Andrew Yang. From there, we will drive the rest of the way across the country. We live in Grass Valley, California, so Northern California in the Sierra foothills. We'll travel across to New Hampshire, down to South Carolina, hopefully connect with some of the different people that have been posting YouTube videos for Andrew Yang. From there, we'll go down to Florida. He's 10, so hopefully we get to go to Disney World. And then across Alabama, Louisiana, over to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then back home to Northern California. In this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about Andrew Yang, and in the polls, if you take a look at the polls, they show that Andrew Yang is doing really poorly, like 3, 4, 5%. There was a random poll that had him at about 13%, another at 8%. With the polls, the problem is that the pollsters have to pick a multiplier. They only canvass 1,000 people, and based on the number of people or the percentage they think a candidate should be getting, they choose a multiplier for race, for gender, for whatever, to attempt to normalize the data. The problem is, if they're wrong in the poll percentage that a particular candidate is actually getting, then they're going to come to use incorrect multipliers, and they're going to make incorrect polling decisions, and as a result they will report that the poll value is much different, in Andrew Yang's case much lower than where it should be. The trick to understand about Andrew Yang is that only about 1 out of 10 people know who Andrew Yang is, and yet he's polling at 5%. So if 10% of the people know who Andrew Yang is, and then 5% of the people are saying that they will vote for Andrew Yang, what it really is telling us is that 50% of the people in the United States who are exposed to Andrew Yang choose Andrew Yang as their candidate. That's double the percentage of all the other front runners. In other words, Andrew Yang has the best favorability rating of all of the candidates once people get to know who he is. The problem today is simply that very few people know who he is. A lot more found out about him after the last debate, but they still don't know. A better place to get information on how well Andrew Yang is doing is to take a look at web searches and YouTube searches. So in this first graph, this is a report of the world searches on YouTube for all of the several of the candidates, for Andrew Yang, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Amy Klobuchar, and Pete Buttigieg. And this was the day of the debate, so you can see a huge spike that happened when the debate happened, and you can also see that the blue line is about 4 to 5 times taller than any of the other lines after the debate. What that tells you is that the entire world is watching the United States election, and the entire world is interested in who Andrew Yang is. But that interest isn't only the rest of the world, it's also the same thing within the United States. With this graph, you can see the same thing. This is a 7-day graph, and people wake up and go to sleep, so you can see the peaks on a daily level. And the number of people searching for Andrew Yang on YouTube is dramatically higher, again 4 to 5 times higher, or 3 to 5 times higher than any of the other candidates. So what does that look like on a political landscape, like a voting map of the United States? Well, if we take a look at the web searches for Andrew Yang, it looks like this. with Andrew Yang in the blue, he's almost sweeping the entire United States, and he's definitely sweeping the important states of California, Texas, and New York. None of the other candidates can touch him, and his website has been ranked higher than all of the other candidates for the past 6 months. Again, the problem is that only 10% of the populace know who he is, but when it comes to people doing searches for political candidates, those tend to be people who are interested in the upcoming elections, and those people tend to know who Andrew Yang is. So what we see is that Andrew Yang is winning all of the searches and is by far the most popular. The same thing, only even more so, is true at YouTube, where there is a ton of media out there by all kinds of independent publishers, myself included now, and Andrew Yang is making a clean sweep of the entire United States. So when you take a look at the polls and they say that Andrew Yang at Real Clear Politics is only polling at 5%, what you need to understand is that only 10% of the people in the United States know who Andrew Yang is. So the people being polled don't know who he is, and if you've never heard of a person, you're not going to say, I'd vote for that person. You're just going to either say, I don't know, or you're going to pick a different name of a different candidate that you know. So the fact is that Andrew Yang is going to sweep this election in a way that's probably going to beat FDR's record, where he swept the elections with 60% of the popular vote and 90% of the electoral college vote. So if you take a look at this map of the United States on YouTube, it's like the electoral college map, where Andrew Yang is sweeping the entire United States. Now, once you know this, please donate. Fourth quarter earnings or donations for Andrew Yang are going to be announced in the first part of January, maybe the first week. And this is the last time that we can register our preference prior to the beginning of voting. In Iowa, the first state to vote, voting takes place on February 3rd. So this fourth quarter is the last time that we can register that we prefer Andrew Yang as our candidate. So please make a donation, even if it's $1. I gave a homeless man $1 2 days ago, and he said that he had never heard of Andrew Yang, but he was definitely going to vote. And another homeless man said that this is amazing, this would save him. Right now he has to sleep under trees. So please register your vote, put in your donation. If you're poor, then put in $1 so that you get counted. If you're wealthy and you can afford it, you're going to get $1,000 a month once Andrew Yang is in. Yes, it makes sense. Don't fall into the goofy trap of thinking it's impossible. We bailed out the banks to the tune of $4 trillion, which is about double the universal basic income. And the universal basic income is going to increase our GDP probably by 8 to 10 trillion dollars. So yes, we can afford it. It's the same thing as Ronald Reagan's trickle-down economics, except it's the opposite. Instead of giving the money to the big companies who today are hiring robots, Andrew Yang is going to give the money to us, to everybody, and it's going to disproportionately help anyone who's poor or not working or retired or a stay-at-home caregiver for a family member or a new mom or a homeless person. All of these people are going to be helped tremendously. We can't afford it. Let's do it. If you've got a bunch of money, please donate as much as you can. Thank you very much, and I will be back with my son 10, who we will be making videos all across the country. We're going to take a survey of the number of people that know who Andrew Yang is, as well as the number of people who like his policy. And with that, what we are going to find out is what that actual ratio is. So my talking to people on the street, I find about 1 in 10 people know who Andrew Yang is, and about half of those say, oh yeah, heck yeah. In fact, when I talk to them, almost 100% of the people that I talk to say that, wow, that sounds awesome, I'm definitely voting for Andrew Yang. So the polls don't count. YouTube does. Take a look at it. Know that Andrew Yang's our winner. Please donate everything you can before the end of the month. That means today, tomorrow, the next day. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your vacation. Happy New Year, and hope to see you. If you are anywhere that I am on the trip, let me know you saw one of my videos. Thanks.